So now we have 4 different layers with different kinds of content on each layer, and now we want to look at a few other aspects of actually managing your layers here in the Layers panel. Now, the first thing that I want to mention is that you can lock layers. That's really important because if you come in here and inadvertently move things, move it all around, well, you can always undo Control-Z or Command-Z on the Mac, but what if you don't catch yourself? Well, instead of worrying about that, once you have certain objects dialed in exactly where you want them, click the second column here in the Layers panel, and that will lock that layer. So now, no matter how many times I click, you can actually see that I'm moving that object behind, but I cannot move that text. So let's move this background layer into position as well. Lock that one with a click. So now, no matter how many times I click, I can't move that background frame, and I also cannot move my text. So it locks those into position. I can always unlock them later, but I'll leave that locked for now. So now that you understand how to lock layers, now let's look at deleting layers. Let's just go ahead and choose the type layer, come down here to the bottom of the Layers panel and click the trash icon. You see here that we get a warning. InDesign knows that there's content on that layer. It's asking me if I'm sure I want to delete that layer. And at this point, I don't want to because I wouldn't want to delete this text. So I'll go ahead and click Cancel. If you wanted to, you could go ahead and click OK, and that would delete the layer and the content. But let's click Cancel for now. Now let's create yet one more layer. So come down here to the bottom of the panel, hold the Alt key or the Option key on the Macintosh, and just click. And we'll call this layer Copy. So we might put some text copy on this layer as well. So I'll come down here, I'll unlock my type layer, and I'll grab this address object here at the bottom of this little piece here, and drag that object here with a proxy up to the copy layer. The reason we're doing this is I just want to show you how to merge layers. So I think layers are great and I think you could really benefit from them, but in the rare case that you actually go overboard, let's look at how to scale things back a little bit. So we have 2 bits of copy on 2 different layers, one called the type layer, one called the copy layer that you see over here. Now I want to shift click both of those layers, and then here in the panel menu flyout, we'll just choose Merge Layers. It'll take the content from both of those layers, merge them down to that top layer, the copy layer. This is very similar behavior if you've ever merged layers in Photoshop, so this should be pretty familiar. Now the last thing we'll look at is tidying up your document if you end up with unused layers. So let's do that on purpose. Let's come down here to the New button and click just 3 or 4 times. We'll create a bunch of new layers. We don't put any content on there, but in this case where you create a bunch of layers and things didn't work out quite like you expected and you want to simplify your layout, go back to the panel menu and choose this command down here near the bottom that says Delete Unused Layers. InDesign is smart enough to find all those layers without any content on them, delete them, and going back to that simple view, just those 4 layers. These are really common options: background, images for your raster content, vectors for your logos and your Illustrator files, and copy or type for all of your text objects. But wait, there is one more thing. Let's choose all of the content on this copy layer. You remember how to do that? Just hold the Alt key on Windows, Option key on Mac, and click the layer name. That will select the content. Now we'll come up to the Edit menu and just choose Copy. Control-C or Command-C on the Mac. It has those text objects in the clipboard now. Now we're going to take advantage of a very cool feature, often overlooked in InDesign. Let's go back to the panel menu, and we have an option here that we want to enable, and that is the feature of Paste Remembers Layers. What does that mean? Well, you know what? I think it's easier to show you than to explain it. So, enable Paste Remembers Layers. After you do that, you'll see this check mark here for that feature. Now, let's go to the File menu, choose New, and create a new document. Let's go ahead and use the Menu Document preset from the list here. If you don't have that installed, just go ahead and create a 4-inch by 11-inch document. Really, any document will work, but let's go ahead and use that preset. And when you have that chosen, click OK. So look here in the Layers panel for this new document. Like I said, new documents have 1 layer in them, and they're called Layer 1. Now let's go to the Edit menu, and we're going to choose Paste. Now, what are we pasting? We're pasting those 2 text frames that came from Where, the layer called copy. So with that in mind, considering that we turned on paste remembers layers, let's see what happens. So we have our copy here, exactly where we would expect, where it came from on the original document, but did you see what happened here in the layers panel? InDesign remembered that this content came from the copy layer, and because this document didn't have one, it was smart enough to create that layer with the right name and put it in the right place. Now, if this document had a layer named copy, it would have just merged that content onto that layer. But the point of showing all of this is that if you decide to use layers, it can bring, as I said, sanity to your whole workflow, consistency, and if you have multiple people working together, copying and pasting content back and forth, the Paste Remembers Layer option, which is available here in the flyout menu, helps enforce your layer naming scheme.